NetBeans can provide you with a lot of help when you want to create objects in your applications. Let's imagine a video game application where we need to use sprites. A sprite is a character in a game, and let's say we want to enable that by creating a class called GameSprite. And a GameSprite would have these properties, also known as attributes or instance variables: a name, a health, and a weapon. We'll just keep it simple and go with those three properties. Now, a GameSprite would also have to have a constructor method in order to enable us to create a new GameSprite object inside of our application. And it would also need setters to set the value of the properties and getters to retrieve those values. Now, clearly, in a GameSprite for an actual game, you would have to have other methods like run, jump, shoot, etc. Lots of other methods. But we'll keep it simple as a starter. Now, I've started a NetBeans project here called Object Video, and I'd like to make a new PHP class. Notice that's one of the choices here. So I'm going to create a GameSprite file, and we'll get rid of some of this extra comments here because it takes up screen real estate. And let's start defining our GameSprite here. Now, actually, class names should start with an uppercase character. That's the conventional naming system that's used. And if you have a two-word class name, the first character in each word should be uppercase as well. So here we go with our class GameSprite. Now I want to create private properties, and those properties were name, health, and weapon. Now, typically, we want to make our data private. That protects it so that we can't accidentally change it. Making your properties private is a standard practice called encapsulation or data hiding, which makes it impossible to access them except with methods that we write. Now, it's also common to put each one of these on its own line, but to save real estate, we'll put them all on one line. Now, let's create the constructor, and this is where we'll see the true value of how NetBeans can help you. I'm going to right-click and select Insert Code, and I'm going to select Constructor. If I check off GameSprite, it'll automatically check all the properties, and I'll just I will use the public modifier because your constructor should be public, and I'm going to hit OK. Now you'll notice what that did is it created the entire constructor for us. Public function, double underscore construct, that's the name of your constructor, always has to be as shown. And then you specify values that will be assigned to the actual properties when we create a new object. $this name is the name of the property that is inside the object, and we're assigning it this $name variable here when we execute the constructor function, which we will do shortly. Now, we also want to have setters and getters for each of these properties, and we can get that very easily by right-clicking and selecting Insert Code, select Getter and Setter, check them all off, click OK, and just like that, you get all of those methods automatically created for you. Saves you a lot of keystroking and prevents errors, by the way. Now let's take a look at this one here. Here's the getName function or method. Notice, by the way, that your methods are actually functions. You can think of a method as a function that belongs to a class. Well, in order to get the name property, you'll notice that the name of the getter is getName. And it's conventional that you uppercase that first character there, and that lets you know that the actual property is name. And it's the same pattern is used for the getter for the health and for the weapon. And you'll notice that each one of these getters takes no parameters inside the parentheses, and each one of them has a return statement which will return the specified property. That's what getters are for. Now, a setter, we've got three setters created for us as well. Setters do take an argument, and that argument is used to reset or set the value of that particular property in the object that we have created. So in order to change the name property, we would specify a name and reassign it to the name property as shown here. And notice that the naming convention again is you uppercase the first character after set in order to make it very obvious as to which property you're working with. Okay, so let's say that that's all we want. We've got some extra lines here. I'll just get rid of those and we'll save that. That's our class definition. Now let's see how we could use this in an application. So I'm going to right click here and create a new PHP file. I'm going to call this one test sprite. Get rid of this extra code here, these comments, we don't need that. Now the first thing I want to do is I want to make available that class definition in this file. So to do that, I go to include once and specify the name of that file, which was gamesprite.php, and that makes available to this program everything that's in that file. And of course what's in there is the definition of our GameSprite class. So now I'm going to create an instance of GameSprite. I'll call this one hero, and I'll use the new operator. That's how you run the constructor. And then you specify the name of the class that you want. Now notice as soon as I type GA, I get some excellent help from NetBeans. It has assumed that I want to create a GameSprite object, and it's also telling me that I need the name, health, and weapon. Extremely helpful. So I'm going to press enter and go for that. And now for the name, I can type in actual literal values here. I'm going to go with Cortana, health, initial health of 5, and the weapon will be Needler. Okay, we've created an object of type GameSprite called hero. You could also say we have an instance of GameSprite called hero. Now let's see if we can use that to retrieve some of the properties of our object. Let's try echo. The name of our object is hero. And then we use the arrow operator to specify the particular value that we want to retrieve. And notice that as soon as I type in the arrow operator, I get some help here. Okay, so I can get, for example, we'll go for the name. Now, certainly we could precede that with some a string of text if we wanted to. We could say the hero is, and then we could concatenate that onto the end, like so. I guess we'd have to use the same type of quotes at both ends in order to do that. We could reset the hero's object's health. Let's say that our hero here has been hit by a weapon, so we could say $hero. Once again, we get a pop-up that shows you the various methods that we have available to us. I'm going to go with set health, and I'll reduce the health down to 4. Let's see if that is, in fact, did happen. So we'll print that out. We'll try hero health is now, and we will run our hero objects get health. Now let's run this, see what happens. Save it. And I do have my Apache running, so I'll run this file. And here's the output that I got. Now, both of the outputs come out on one line, as you can see here, because I don't have a break anywhere in my code. So what I'll do is I will, let's see, maybe I'll put it right here. Maybe I'll code a BR tag right there. Save that and run it again. And now it runs better. Okay, hope that helps. Make use of the capabilities of NetBeans when you're creating your objects.